Hello and thanks for watching this video called Save Your Stuff, where I will be giving you information and tips on how to preserve valuable personal items you may have at home. Stuff. Isn't stuff great? You love your stuff, and of course, you'd like your stuff to last forever. Though we can't save everything forever, we can help ensure our stuff lasts as long as possible by taking care of or preserving each item. While the general aspects of preservation are the same, each type of item may require specific techniques to keep the materials in mint condition. For example, paper documents should be saved in a different manner than film, but I'll get into that more later. The first step in preservation is to prevent further damage and deterioration. This includes damage due to temperature, humidity, dust, dirt, sun, rain, pests, fire, and chemicals. The preservation process can also include cleaning, storing, displaying, handling, and digitizing or scanning materials. While this may seem like a lot of factors to consider, most of them can be taken care of with one easy step: storing your valuable items inside. Keeping your precious documents, papers, and other items inside protects them from the primary sources of damage: environmental factors. Heat accelerates deterioration. The rate of most chemical reactions, including deterioration, is doubled with each increase in temperature of 18 degrees Fahrenheit. High relative humidity provides the moisture which promotes harmful chemical reactions in materials and, in combination with high temperature, encourages mold growth and insect activity. Extremely low relative humidity, on the other hand, may lead to the embrittlement of some materials. A stable environment makes all the difference. Rapid fluctuations in temperature and humidity do the most damage. An air conditioner, humidifier, or dehumidifier are good climate control options depending on your environment. Dust and dirt can abrade surfaces and attract mold and insects. Gently brush away dust or dirt on any items you wish to save. Place items in containers, like filing cabinets, boxes, and folders, to protect from the elements. Store in a pest-free area away from food. Don't eat or drink near where you're storing or handling items. Light fades, discolors, and makes paper brittle. This damage is permanent and irreversible. Exposure to all light, both visible and ultraviolet, can cause fading, darkening, and other changes, so it is best to store items away from direct sunlight. The best protection from light damage is to display copies of the originals and keep the originals stored in a box. Color scans and color photocopies can make good quality copies for display. The main emergency situations you may encounter related to your items are fire and flood. Store your valuables on shelves, up off of the floor and away from pipes that could leak. Minimizing your risk of fire damage includes installing and regularly checking smoke detectors, installing fire suppression systems like sprinklers, and keeping fire extinguishers nearby. Now that you know which environmental factors to look out for, we'll move on to caring for different types of materials. Over time, the magnetic tape in your video and audio cassettes starts to break down. Now, the best methods to preserve these is through digitization, but storing them upright in a cool, dry place will help reduce degradation. In addition, magnets are in a lot of old technology, and storing tapes near them may end up wiping your tapes. Be kind, rewind. You may remember this phrase from Blockbuster, and it's not just to reset the tape back to the beginning for the next user. it was also to ensure that the tape and its film are properly cared for and reset after each use. And digitize. This will allow you to have a copy that you can play and replay to your heart's content while preventing further wear and tear to your tapes. Personal books should also be stored away from direct sunlight, stored upright, and not stacked. More fragile books can be stored in flat boxes. Avoid further damaging books with materials like rubber cement, glue, tape, paper clips, or rubber bands. These materials do not stand the test of time, as you can see. Lastly, do not dog-ear pages. No, not that dog ear, this dog ear. Or force books flat, which can damage the spine. For home movies on film, avoid handling the film if possible, but if you have to, be sure to touch only the edges. Label each tape or reel with as much information as possible. This will make it much easier to organize and locate in the future. Store film lying flat in metal cans or plastic boxes. Over time, film shrinks and becomes brittle and will need treatment before it can be projected. Similarly, color film fades or shifts as it ages. Be aware that playing these old movies could break the film, and a faulty projector could actually destroy the images. And of course, digitize it. Documents dealing with kinship, like birth and marriage certificates, or property, like wills and land deeds, were often printed or written on high-quality cotton fiber paper called rag paper. This type of paper is fairly strong and able to survive folding, creasing, and rolling. On the other hand, documents intended for temporary use, such as receipts and daily news, or those produced during wartime shortages, were often made with low-quality, high wood pulp paper that deteriorates quickly due to its high acid content. Be sure to spread out papers to air dry immediately upon getting wet or discovery of mold, and control the ambient temperature and relative humidity. Store documents flat, not folded, and avoid rolling them up if possible. Of course, large posters and other items can be rolled to save space. While not necessary, acid-free folders and boxes allow easy access and protection from light and damage. First, if you do need to handle photographs, be sure to handle them with clean, dry hands. Store them out of direct sunlight in boxes or folders to prevent fading. Consider cold storage for acetate negatives, color negatives, prints, and slides. These materials are vulnerable to fading and deterioration within decades if stored at room temperature. Cold storage can slow this deterioration, but it requires special packaging and steps. For photograph slides, only handle slides by the mount, and do not leave slides exposed to light for longer than necessary. Use polyester, polyethylene, or polypropylene sleeves to store loose slides, not PVC. And of course, label and store in boxes. With scrapbooks and photo albums, as with paper, beware of tape, glue, and other damaging adhesives. Plastic sleeves and covers used in modern photograph albums and scrapbooks are often unstable and therefore damaging. However, you can use photo corners to attach your photos and papers without gluing or taping them. Use buffered tissue paper for interleaving or separating papers, photos, and pages. Buffered refers to material that has an alkaline substance added as a buffer to counteract acids, while unbuffered has no alkaline substance. Artifacts that contain animal proteins are best stored in unbuffered material. Digital preservation simply refers to ensuring the longest life of digital materials. By making a digital copy of a physical item, like a VHS tape, you can continue to update it along with advances made in video technology long after your VCR stops working. Scan your photographs, documents, books, and other items in stable, non-proprietary formats such as PDF, JPEG, or TIFF. Organize the scanned files on your computer and back them up on a separate drive, like a hard drive. It is important to have 2 copies on different devices in case one storage device fails. And don't forget to add metadata. Describe the file as best you can to help with organization and with locating it later. In terms of storage, high acid content paper is so toxic that it speeds up the deterioration of anything it touches. Look for containers that are pH neutral or acid free and are big enough for the originals to lay flat or upright without folding or bending, but are not so big that the items shift around. Use folders instead of envelopes to reduce damage to the edges and corners of documents and photographs. If using plastic preservation supplies, look for chemically stable plastics with the terms polypropylene, polyethylene, and Melanex. Do not laminate or enclose anything entirely in plastic. The adhesives, plastics, and heat applied during the laminating process all work against paper materials, causing more rapid deterioration. It is much better to simply place brittle items in stiff mylar sleeves, from which they can be easily removed at a later date. While you generally don't need to purchase special archival boxes and folders, they are available if you want. So I know I've just thrown a lot of information at you, but here are a few tips for getting started with your own at-home preservation project. First, start simply, separating into bigger chunks and going from there if desired. Don't get too focused on one individual thing and be realistic with your time. Next, work to improve, not perfect. Nothing can be perfect, so this will just overwhelm and frustrate you. Focus on improving your system or area. You can always come back to it later. Clearly label and date your precious items so you will have that information later on. This is important both for organization and for memory's sake. And of course, my favorite, scan, scan, scan. Digitizing your items can give you a copy to display and share to your heart's content without further damaging your original. The Gwinnett County Public Library has some great resources available to help you with your at-home preservation project. These include flatbed scanners at every location and online genealogy resources like Ancestry and Heritage Quest. In the Learning Labs, you have access to specialized technology like high-tech cameras, photo and video editing software, media conversion equipment, and VHS and DVD players. You can also book a librarian to get one-on-one help from Learning Lab staff. Thanks for tuning in, and best of luck saving your stuff.